Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and I'm live with my Sunday news stream. Not be a very long stream this week because there's not a lot of news. There's only, I think, 4 articles that have caught my eye. So let's hit the intro and then we'll get on with it. Right, I'm back. Right, so before I start, happy birthday to my big sis Sue. Happy birthday, Sue. Bless her. Love you lots and all that stuff. Right, let's get the news up. Here we go. As I said, we've just 4 news stories this week. As usual, links are in the description down below. And don't forget, like and subscribe and share the videos and drop a comment. Hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm also on my other videos, also on Rumble and Spotify and Amazon Music Podcasts and Google Podcasts. I'll upload this tomorrow to Rumble and all them others. Because it's live, I can't do it, live to all the others at the same time because I'm still using the free version of the streaming software. I'm not paying 20 quid a month because I'm tight. Anyway, what else? I'm also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Links for those are also in the description, as are the links for my 2 books, Mercury Rapids, a light-hearted sci-fi action-adventure, and Silent Predator, a short horror novella. They're both available on Amazon, Kindle and paperback. It's just a bit of fun. Right, here we go. George Lucas made Star Wars prequels because fans didn't get the story. I think a lot of the times I think George Lucas didn't get the story. Anyway, let's read on. By the way, I've not read any of these articles. I've just seen the titles, and I thought, that sounds interesting. Let's see what happens. Right, George Lucas reveals that the Star Wars prequel trilogy was made because audiences weren't understanding the point of the first 3 movies. That's a way for them, to take the piss out of your audience, isn't there, George? Knobhead. I've always thought he was a bit of an idiot. I have. Now that the Star Wars movie prequel trilogy is way, way behind us, plenty of fans look back on the action movies with love and affection. They've taken the quirks, strange dialogue, as in bad dialogue, and lore, and have learnt to embrace it. Nevertheless, there is still a staunch number of Star Wars fans who look at the prequels and simply think, why? For those, George Lucas has a very specific response. Speaking to StarWars.com back in 2019, the filmmaker explained that the prequel trilogy had to be made because audiences just weren't understanding what the original trilogy was all about, and they needed more context. The original idea, this is George Lucas speaking, the original idea for Star Wars, well, it was one movie about the tragedy of Darth Vader, the Wise. Oh, never mind. Of Darth Vader. But as the story grew, I nearly said it again, by the way. As the story grew, it ended up being 3 movies, and the backstory was never explained, he said. He tries to make out that he had all this planned out, and he didn't. He had notes, and that's the most he had. Notes and an idea in the back of his head. Lucas continued, I decided that it would be important to finish it off and do the backstory because things that I thought would be self-evident about the story, the audience didn't get. Over the 10 years after Return of the Jedi, I realised people misunderstood a lot, such as where Anakin came from. So he had no idea where Anakin came from. So it was a way of finishing the whole thing off. It's clear that Lucas's view is very much that the Star Wars movies are about Darth Vader and that the story of Luke Skywalker is only a means of exploring that. Never mind that Star Wars, the books that came out, the original novelisation by George Lucas, it wasn't by Alan Dean Foster, but it says George Lucas on the cover, it says From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. So it had sort of all to do with Darth Vader. And that the story of Luke Skywalker is only a means of exploring that. Talking out of his ass. The cybernetic Sith Lord is undoubtedly the most interesting aspect of the original trilogy. Well, he's one of the great characters, isn't he? not the most interesting aspect, as we watch his story unexpectedly intersect with Luke and learn that he was once a close friend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We learned that from the beginning, didn't we? You know, Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine before he turned to evil. So there you go. So he knew him, didn't he? What we learned from the prequel trilogy is how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, which does reframe the events we see in the first 3 science fiction movies. So hopefully fans now see that Star Wars, as George Lucas envisioned, for better or worse. He didn't envision it. He had no idea when he wrote Star Wars. He had no idea what it were going to be. I mean, the early drafts of Star Wars were totally different to what the film ended up being. Oh, and that's it. There we go. For more on Star Wars, read his other articles, blah, 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 and there we go. So that was a nothing article, wasn't it? But, yeah, George Lucas, he tries to make out that his Star Wars is bigger in his mind. He had it all there in his mind, ready to go. And it's a lie. It's a lie. He didn't. He basically made it up as he went along. They fight. He used that a lot in his scripts. They fight. Anyway, let's move on. Let's stick with George Lucas. Indiana Jones 5 is ignoring George Lucas's biggest piece of advice. This is going to be another thing where George Lucas is talking out of his ass. I mean, I love the fella, I think I once saw him in my local town. It wasn't him, it just somebody that looked really like him. He walked past McDonald's once. When we used to have a McDonald's in our town, didn't there anymore. A fella walked past once and I sort of thought, that's George Lucas, that. It wasn't. Well, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Anyway, George Lucas has written the stories for every Indiana Jones movie except for Indy 5, and it's already ignoring his biggest piece of advice. I'm sure this will be interesting. The Indiana Jones franchise swings back into fans' lives with Indiana Jones at the Dial of Destiny this summer, but Indy 5 might be in trouble if it's already ignoring George Lucas's don't need that S there, do they? Biggest piece of advice. The trio of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas and Harrison Ford have been involved with each film to feature the titular globe-trotting archaeologist, with Spielberg either directing or producing, Ford starring, and Lucas writing the story. With either directing or producing, he directed every one apart from the latest one. Anyway, which always focuses on a real archaeological object imbued with, not necessarily a real archaeological object. I don't know if the Shankara stones, were they real? I don't know. Anyway, imbued with supernatural powers. In order to adhere to a winning formula, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull took 15 years to generate Indy's next adventure. Fans thought, hang on, I've gone too far. Fans thought Indy 4 didn't quite hit the mark with a plot about extraterrestrial beings. Technically, they were extra-dimensional beings. But yeah, we're a bit crap anyway. And now, 15 years after that, they're concerned that Indiana Jones 5 might be another disappointment. Lucas has always tried to carefully balance the more fantastical elements of the franchise with a foundation of real history. At least he did so around the time that he was developing the science fiction-inspired plot of Indy's last adventure, Indiana Jones and the Last Adventure. The Crystal Skull. I mean, yes, the Crystal Skulls are a real thing, they do exist, of varying quality. But are the real ancient artifacts, are the modern, made by jewelers like Cartier or whatever, are the real, archaeological creations? It's still all up in the air, isn't it? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny focuses on Professor Jones in his 70s preventing a former Nazi from getting his hands on a time-altering device at the height of the space race, seemingly breaking Lucas's own commandment about his writing process. We'll find out what that was. Here we go. George Lucas rejected the idea of a time machine. But if what I suspect is true about this new Indiana Jones film, it could be a real object that they're using. But I don't know, because obviously details are sketchy. Right, in an interview in 2008, Lucas stated that even though there was a MacGuffin in every Indiana Jones movie, it still needed to be grounded in reality. And you just can't make something up like a time machine to move the plot forward. Based on the Indy 5 trailer, it seems like the Dial of Destiny that both Indy and Mads Mikkelsen's villain are after has the power to control time, which conflicts with Lucas's prior statement. Far from being a real artifact, a time machine is a speculative device created by science fiction authors and is a peculiar MacGuffin for screenwriter David Cope to choose. As I said, I suspect that they're going to use a machine called the Glocker, which was developed allegedly. This is in the realm of myth, World War II myth. I think we're in Poland, in German-occupied Poland, towards the end of the Second World War. There was an area that had a big ring, a stone ring. It looked a bit like Stonehenge, but thinner and obviously modern, like made of concrete. And somewhere beneath this, or to do with this, was a secret Nazi research centre where they were developing what was known as the Glocke, which means the bell, because it was a bell-shaped object. And at the end of the war, it vanished. Whoosh, it was gone. Like the Ark in the first movie, it disappeared. And nobody knows what happened to it. There were all these rumours and legends have sprouted up over the years that it was a spaceship or it was some sort of portal device. And my personal theory is that it was a time machine. The Nazis had invented a time machine, and I think what happened, that the main scientist has something to do with this, disappeared as well. I think he jumped in the time machine, set it off. I don't know, but I think it went 20 years into the future to 1965, personally, and reappeared in the sky above Kecksburg in Pennsylvania. And the Kecksburg incident, because that had a bell-shaped object falling from the sky and landing in the woods, and the army appearing, or the military, American military appearing, taking it away. Probably with a dead Nazi inside, but I don't know. But that's my personal theory, and I think that's what this film, the basis of this film is. I think something's going to happen with this Nazi device, because he fights Nazis, doesn't he? As Indiana Jones, that's what he's known for. And that's what I think is going to happen. What this dial of destiny is, I don't know. Maybe it's a control thing to do with it, I don't know. But or maybe they're saying that the Nazis discovered this device, and it's an ancient device, the Glocke, maybe from Atlantis or something like that. I don't know, I'm just speculating. And the dial is the control thing for it. But that's just me theorising. Anyway, I'm contradicting what this article is saying, that the MacGuffin has got to be a real world thing, where in my theory, maybe it is. It's as real as a bloody Shankara stone, anyway. After Lucas was blamed for introducing aliens in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008, extra-dimensional beings, he sold Lucasfilm to Disney in 2014. I thought it was 2012 he sold Lucasfilm. Anyway, never mind. And hasn't had anything to do with screenwriting, and only serves as an executive producer on Indy 5 because he created the character, that's why. Regardless, there was precedent for all kinds of bizarre MacGuffins in the novels that followed the archaeologist's additional escapades, I can't talk tonight, including Indiana Jones and the Dance of Giants. By the way, I've never read I didn't even know there were Indiana Jones novels, continuing. I presume there were novels, novelizations of the movies. But I didn't know there were, like an expanded universe for Indiana Jones. I know there were games and stuff. I'd seen video games and stuff, but I didn't know there were novels. Anyway, Indiana Jones and the Dance of the Giants, which featured a hunt for Merlin's scroll. Indiana Jones and the Genesis Deluge, which included both Noah's Ark and Al Capone. That sounds fascinating, doesn't it? And Indiana Jones and the Secret of the Sphinx, which featured a chapter entitled The Crystal Skull 10 years prior to Indy 4. There you go. Right, why time travel could be problematic in Indiana Jones 5, and presume that is the Dial of Destiny. I don't know. Right, the presence of time travel could be problematic for Indiana Jones 5 for the same reason immortality was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It creates plot holes, allows for inconsistencies in character development, and lowers the stakes. Even though he drank from the Holy Grail, once Indy moved beyond... Well, Indy didn't drink from it, did he? Oh, no, he did. Yes, he did drink from it. Yes, I'm lying, because he tested it. Did you have chosen wisely or whatever? Yes, he did drink from it. Once Indy moved beyond the Templar Knight seal in Indy 3, Last Crusade, his immortality was forfeit. So if Indy 5's MacGuffin follows its own logic, then there should be no reason why it will gum up the plot. I never understood that, why it didn't work beyond the Great Seal. What stopped it working? I don't know. If it doesn't, then time travel will affect everything about the franchise and possibly do irreparable damage, or irreparable damage even. Even though Crystal Skull already retired Indiana Jones, Lucas, Spielberg and Ford brought him back for one final adventure in which this time Indy is the relic. I don't think Lucas brought him back. Spielberg didn't either, because he dropped out, didn't he? Like I said, they're on board as producers and nothing else. Time travel offers him and his adversaries the chance to change the world to their own designs. And there might even be a part of Indy that wishes to return to his younger days, particularly those that include past comrades like Marcus Brody and Henry Jones Sr. Whatever he chooses, well, they're going to show a younger Indy, aren't they, in this new film, and there's some bad CG, isn't there, of the old Indy. Riding a horse. In the trailer. Whatever he chooses, and whatever the reason Coop decided to bring in time travel in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Lucas's words ring true. There's no motive other than to enjoy ourselves. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I've got nothing against time travel. Like I say, time travel's always fun, but let's see what happens. But like I say, George Lucas, he does talk out of his bum sometimes. Where is it? Where is it? You can't just make something up like a time machine. Well, what if somebody made a time machine that were real, like, the Glocker? Then I'm going to look up Shankara stones just to see if they were real. I mean, we know the Ark of the Covenant was real, although nobody's ever found it. We know the Holy Grail was real, even though nobody's ever found it. Were the Shankara stones real? Sankara. I thought it was Shankara. Anyway, never mind. Are the Sankara stones real? Is it? No, I don't think it was. To be honest. I'm trying to find, and it's not saying anything. Let's have a look. The real story behind the MacGuffins. Right, here we go. Shankara stones. Oh, go away. Accept your bloody things. Have I gone too far? Hang on, I think I have. Right, here we go. Right. Real life version. Oh, no, that's Ark of the Covenant, isn't it? Oh, Pete's sake. Real life version. The Sankara stones are based on the Sivalinga, the symbol of the Hindu god Shiva. According to Hindu law, Sankara was a priest who ascended Mount Kalisa where he met Shiva. Shiva passed on 5 stones invested with magical properties that Sankara could use to combat evil. Oh, there you go. So they were real, legendary. They're not real, are they? They're legendary. So George Lucas saying something like that. Where is it? Where have I put it? Saying something like that. You can't just make something up like a time machine. Well, he has, hasn't he, basically. He's using legendary artifacts and making out that they're real. But they might not be. They're legendary, aren't they? It's like using King Arthur. Dear. I mean, the most real thing is used are Nazis and a Knights Templar. They're the realest things, aren't they? That they've used. Anyway, let's move on. We're talking about Picard now. Star Trek. Picard Season 3's mystery villain hints he's not a changeling. Are you assuming his gender? Mysterious mastermind behind the plot against the Federation in Star Trek Picard Season 3 was heavily implied he's not actually a changeling. And there he is, there's his face. Remember, Vadik cuts her hand off and it turns into that, because she's a changeling and it speaks to her. I've got my own theories. I like doing my own theories. They're usually not right. Right, warning, spoilers for Star Trek Picard Season 3 Episode 7 Dominion. Right, Star Trek Picard Season 3's mastermind villain, known only as The Face, has strongly suggested he's not actually a changeling himself. I think the voice is, I forgot, Garth Davis. Sorry, I looked it up, didn't I, last week during my review, and I've actually forgot. But it didn't ring a bell. but that did somebody just sending me a message. It was revealed in the Season 3 episode 17 Seconds that a splinter group of changelings, a long-time enemy of the United Federation of Planets, were behind the attack on a Starfleet recruitment centre on Metallus Prime and had stolen something important from Daystrom Station. It was implied, I don't know how they called it Daystrom Station, they should have called it something else. Because they've like made out that it's like a top secret, not top secret, but like a Section 31 outpost where they keep, dirty secrets. And I don't think Richard Daystrom would have anything to do with that, would he? So they should have called it something else. It was implied that the changelings had originated the plot against the Federation in retaliation for the fallout of the Dominion War. I suppose it could be argued that the real Daystrom Station, was a cover for the Section 31 activities going on there. I suppose you could say that, couldn't you? Anyway, well, I'll read that again. It was implied that the changelings had originated the plot against the Federation in retaliation for the fallout of the Dominion War. Remember that they lost the Dominion War because the Federation, Section 31, Starfleet looked the other way, infected the changelings with a deadly virus that were basically killing them. It prevented them from changing form, so they started basically to disintegrate. Dr. Bashir sorted out a cure. I don't know if he stole it or not. Some people said he stole it, but I thought he just sorted it out or discovered it or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, he sorted out a cure. We'll say he stole it. I don't know. Gave it to Odo, who were also infected. Gave it to Odo, cured him, and then Odo took it upon himself to meld or link with the female changeling that we saw was in charge in the Alpha Quadrant during the war, and cured her, and then she was taken off into custody. We never know what happened to her. She was taken off into custody after the war, after the Dominion surrendered, and then Odo went back to the Gamma Quadrant and cured the rest of them. Went into the Great Link and cured the rest of them. That was the last we saw of Odo. But we've heard he's still knocking about because he's spoken to Worf, hasn't he, since it says in Picard Season 3. Right. The assumption was complicated by the first appearance of the face in the episode No-Win Scenario, a floating mass of skin and bone in roughly the shape of a head. The face ordered the changeling Captain Vadik, Amanda Plummer, to pursue the USS Titan A at all costs to retrieve Jack Crusher Ed Spaliers. The changelings in Star Trek Picard Season 3 are vastly different from the version originated in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So many simply assumed the face was some new aspect of the shapeshifters, but that now seems highly unlikely. And there he is again. After being captured by Vadik, after breaching Daystrom Station, Captain William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, is taken back to the Shrike, where he finds the changelings have captured his wife, Counsellor Deanna Troi, Marina Sirtis, acting badly as usual. While Vadik was confident the threat of violence against his loved ones would convince Riker to help her locate the USS Titan A, Riker outsmarted her by giving her faulty information. Unable to locate the Titan, Vadik was forced to report to the face. Obviously unhappy with Vadik's update, the face is somehow able to attack her, compromising her solid form and inflicting considerable pain on her. Sorry, I've just had that drink and it's coming back up. He also speaks of the changelings as if he's not one of them, that they're simply working for him. That bit of late-season intrigue opens up the story possibilities considerably. Like I said, there's two ways you could look at this. He's either not a changeling or he's a Gamma Quadrant changeling who looks down upon these new Alpha Quadrant changelings, because we learn that the changelings that are with Vadik have been altered by by Section 31, who experimented on them, but they escaped. But they found they had new abilities that could better copy people, even down to internal organs and stuff. And Vadik took the face, took the shape of her torturer, the scientist, the human scientist who did all this horrible stuff to her. Anyway, right. So it could be argued that the other proper true changelings look down on them as though saying they're like a subspecies, a lesser form of changeling. That could be something like that. Or it could be, as I like to believe, probably not true, I'm going in, airy-fairy territory again, it could be Par-wraiths. Because Par-wraiths are known to be able to possess people. So is this a way for her, as a changeling, to speak to the Par-wraith that's inside her, cut off a hand and it reforms into the face and she can talk to the Par-wraith? I don't know. Because Par-wraiths are, the evil form of the prophets who live in the wormhole that connects the Gamma Quadrant and the Alpha Quadrant at Bajor. But at the end, we saw that the Par-wraiths have been trapped again at the end in the fire caves on Bajor. But maybe not all of them had. So anyway, we will see. That's one of my theories. Right, the notion of the face being something other than a changeling opens up the questions of who would want to attack the Federation and who would benefit from capturing the seriously unwell Jack Crusher. An obvious possibility is the Borg, perhaps the most crucial antagonist in the life of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart. The face notably uses we pronouns instead of I pronouns, much like the Borg. The effort to retrieve Picard's original body could also be a plot to revive Locutus in some fashion. Well, yeah, it could be, because I'm sure Patrick Stewart, well, maybe he has, I don't know. I'm sure Jean-Luc Picard still has some Borg nanoprobes floating around in his system. I bet he's got some. They'll be deactivated or whatever, He won't be in any danger of becoming a Borg again. But, they'll be that insidious in his, they'll still be in there. Same with Seven of Nine. She's still got plenty, hasn't she? But she's not part of the collective. And maybe he passed them on, to Jack Crusher. But that doesn't explain his visions, does it? Or maybe it does, I don't know. But what does chopping a hand off and it turn into a face? What does that have to do with the Borg? I don't know. But anyway. Another distinct possibility is the covert Starfleet organisation Section 31. Section 31 has hung over the entire season like a dark cloud. Their role in unleashing the morphogenic virus on the changelings during the Dominion War was perceived to be a heinous war crime by many on both sides, and their collection of provocative treasures at Daystrom Station is probably not something to be ignored. It's possible Section 31 is manipulating the changelings into an attack on the Federation so they can gain a greater influence on a scared, weakened Starfleet. It's called a false flag attack. The identity of the face remains one of Starfleet Picard's Season 3's biggest mysteries. That's it, right. So, yeah, I err towards the Par-wraith theory myself. But it's probably not that. I'm probably giving, although I like Terry Metalis, I'm probably giving him too much credit, Fan theories rarely come true, don't they? But it'll probably turn out it's just another changeling, and the device that she uses, that she cuts her hand into, is just some form of communication with the other changelings, or the one that's in charge. I don't know, but I hope it's Par-wraiths. I hope it's Par. I was hoping that Vadic and all them weren't going to be changelings, to be honest. I was hoping they were going to be solids that were like changeling worshippers. Much like the Jem'Hadar and the Vorta worshipped the changelings. I know they were genetically engineered to do that, but much like they did that, these could be like, solids from the Alpha Quadrant that thought the changelings were gods. But no, there are changelings. Why does her crew all have the same shape then? She's the only one that looks like a human-ish. Don't know. Why do they speak in that weird language? Don't know. They don't have to, do they? Right, so we move on. Last article. It's a list, actually. I thought we'll end on a list. Here we go. 10 dated sci-fi movies that could use a remake. And then straight away down here, there's an image of a film that is not dated in the slightest. There you go. There's Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis from David Cronenberg's classic, which is a remake in itself, The Fly from 1986. Remake of the classic 50s movie starring Vincent Price and Al Hedison, who would become David Hedison. Right, sci-fi films are great at challenging the viewer's imagination through intricate plots and creating wondrous future technology and worlds. Unfortunately, as filmmaking techniques and special effects advance, many sci-fi films that once inspired awe and wonder can start to look dated by today's standards. This results in some films' special effects and plot lines being the source of unintentional laughter upon rewatch. Well, if you laugh at that, then you're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you are. My favourite film of all time is the 1933 King Kong. Now, today, you'd look at that, kids today, people say this, don't they? Oh, kids today couldn't watch that because it looks so dated. It's in black and white, stop motion animation, it's all hokey. My son loves King Kong, the original one. He don't care about how it looks. He just cares that it's got a great story with great monsters. That's all he's bothered about. Anyway, there's a certain charm that these films retain despite being dated, which is what I've just said, which many distinguished viewers will enjoy. You've redeemed yourself now in this article. Still, a remake is a great way to introduce the sci-fi concepts of these films to a new audience who can accept them at face value through modern film techniques. Here are 10 dated, I don't like that term, sci-fi films that could use a remake. They should say classic or what's the term? I don't know. Anyway, I'll stick with classic. Here are 10 classic sci-fi films that could use a remake. Number 10, Forbidden Planet. Again, doesn't look dated in the slightest. In my opinion, yeah, it looks 50s, but it's still cool. Right, 1956 anyway. And there's Robbie the Robot. There's I forgot her name, but it's in Altera, and that's Lieutenant Farnham in the film. I forgot her name now. Jane somebody or other. No, it's Anne. Anne Francis. There she goes, Anne Francis. I can't remember who plays him, but she's Anne Francis. Also starred Leslie Nielsen and Walter Pidgeon. There we go. First up on the list is the film Forbidden Planet. This movie was distributed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1956. It is based on an original story and was, although loosely based on The Tempest, Shakespeare's The Tempest, and was directed by Fred M. Wilcox, whose most famous film previously was Lassie Come Home. The film's plot centres around a starship crew exploring a distant colony that has lost contact with the outside world, and it also inspired Star Trek. After the crew arrives, they find the colony deserted except for 2 survivors and a robot. It turns out the colony was built on the remains of a long-lost civilization, the Krell. It is revealed that this civilization is much like what humanity will be in the future, being felled by their own advanced creations. And then it goes on to that. The advanced creation was a machine that rid them of instrumentalities. Basically, it gave them whatever they thought of. Anything they thought of would instantly be, materialised. So it was civilization without instrumentalities. That's how it was described in the film. But as soon as they switched the machine on, obviously there were no testing, but as soon as they switched the machine on, monsters from the id appeared and wiped out the civilization overnight. The id being, your subconscious mind. Anyway, right. This film has been considered one of the greatest science fiction films of all time, and it is. And it is a shame that it has not been able to receive a remake thus far, because it doesn't need one. It's that good. It received several awards, including an Academy Award nomination for Best Visual Effects. People's perception of what the future would be like back in the 1950s differs significantly from how it is now, and it would be interesting to see the same concept and themes played out with updated effects. Many older sci-fi technologies are a cluster of buttons, since things like digital screens have not been conceived of yet. Yeah, well, whatever. But I don't think it doesn't need a remake, so that's one that doesn't need a remake, in my opinion. Starship Troopers, 1997. That's not exactly old, is it? I mean, bloody hell. Unbelievable. Right, Starship Troopers, and there she is, the hateful Denise Richards. Oh, I hated that character, and I think a lot of people did, for what she did to poor Johnny, I forgot his name now. Him anyway, Johnny what's-his-face, Casper Van Dien. Anyway, Starship Troopers is a classic action sci-fi film. It's really good. I watched it recently, and it's still amazing. directed by Paul Verhoeven. What's he done recently? I don't know. Does he do like his Dutch language films now? He hasn't done a big blockbuster film for yonks, has he? Anyway, and released in 1997. The film was distributed by TriStar Pictures and starred Casper Van Dien, Dina Meyer and Denise Richards. It is a fun film that takes a heavy bite of satire out of the genre in a way that not many films have been able to replicate. Obviously, Paul Verhoeven was all previously known for RoboCop, and Starship Troopers were written by the same people. So that's probably why it was very satirical, because RoboCop had a heavy dose of satire as well. It had a poor reception on it during its original box office run, but its popularity quickly grew thanks to word of mouth, giving rise to a cult status. The film follows a group of Marines, not Marines, what are you talking about? It's just mobile infantry, they're not Marines, as they sign up for service against a race of aliens attacking human colonies. Technically in the film, the humans invade their space. And set up colonies on their world. If you watch the film, it's heavily implied that that's the case. However, as it turns out, it's just saying it here. However, as it turns out, the humans are responsible for invading the aliens' land and are carrying out a systematic genocide of the species. All the human-centric characters are moulded into killing machines that do not spare a thought for their enemies' bug-like appearance. The film is excellently acted and directed, making it a true gem of the sci-fi genre. However, some of the film's CGI and special effects don't hold up today. What they're talking about, they're amazing. That is clearly not true. That is clearly not true. By the way, there's both the CGI in it and traditional, model effects. The ships and stuff are models, and they look great. Especially when they're breaking apart and exploding and stuff, and you can see all the decks are on fire and stuff. It looks cool, and the bugs look amazing, particularly in the attack on the fort, where the soldiers are trapped in this fort, and there's like millions of these bugs. I presume it's thousands of these bugs, all around, and that attack's going on. It looks awesome. Anyway, Starship Troopers did spawn a few sequels, but none of them captured the spirit of the original film. No, they didn't. But they were all right, but they were straight-to-DVD films, weren't they? And the series eventually lost its sardonic edge. It could definitely use an updated remake with improved effects and the return to form. No, just leave it as it is. That's another one I don't think needs a remake. It's fine. Now then, Toxic Avenger 1984. Oh, pardon me. I don't think I've ever seen this. If I have, it were a long time ago and I can't remember. Another sci-fi film that could use a remake is The Toxic Avenger. So I've no opinion on this one, but we'll read it anyway. This is a superhero comedy film directed by Michael Hertz and Lloyd How do you pronounce that? Is it Kaufman? Kaufman? I don't know. Kaufman. It was released in 1984 and distributed by Troma Entertainment, who gave James Gunn used to work for Troma. The movie has become a cult classic in the years since its release and follows the story of a janitor who is transformed into a deformed mutant with super strength. Despite being nerdy before, he's forced by circumstances to confront his bullies and punish the evildoers that he encounters. While part of the camp of the film, you mean while the camp of the film is part of its charm? The Toxic Avenger could greatly benefit from a remake with its excellent special effects to make the fight scenes less awkward. Well, I don't know, because I've not seen it. What are you up to? Are you being naughty? Cat of mine's being naughty again. Seeing what I'm up to. But yeah, I don't know, because I can't remember it. But being from Troma, I can't imagine it being like, Starship Troopers or Forbidden Planet, on the cutting edge of science fiction. But yeah, I'll have to have a look for it and give it a watch. I've heard they're fun. I've heard the Toxic Avenger films are fun, and that's what's more important, isn't it? Right, Event Horizon 1997. I think another one I'm probably going to disagree with them. Event Horizon is a sci-fi horror film directed by Paul W.S. Anderson and released in 1997, and it's still his best film. Not his first film, but it's still his best film. The film was distributed by Paramount Pictures and starred Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, and Kathleen Quinlan, and others. Jolie Richardson, and what's his face? Jason Isaacs, Sean Pertwee, and a couple of others. It follows a starship. Well, it's not a starship. I don't think they had starships in Event Horizon. It follows a spaceship, known as the Event Horizon, because we don't get any idea that the man is like faster than light travel. They still seem to be hauling ass between the planets in our solar system. I don't think they're going to other stars yet, because that was the point of the Event Horizon, I think, was to use a black hole to go to other star systems. It was an experimental ship that went wrong. Anyway, it follows a starship. The starship is the Event Horizon. See. I should read these beforehand, shouldn't I? Which encountered a mysterious rift in another dimension that caused its crew to disappear. A rescue team responds to its distress signal, leading to a horrible situation of decaying psychological states of the rescue team, and then being killed off. The visuals are a significant selling point of Event Horizon, and there are some trippy visual decisions. However, a remake of the film could tighten up all the visual effects that are dated and deliver a truly terrifying experience. It's still terrifying as it is. And the only visual effects that appear dated are some, kind of ropey CGI, because it was kind of still the early days of CGI. But it's, it's okay. It's not too bad. But the model works good, and the gory effects look good, and you get stuff like that. Can't go wrong with a bit of blood splatter, can you? But apart from that, it doesn't need redoing. I wish they'd find the log that shows. There's like images of the original crew of the Event Horizon, sort of like basically ripping each other apart, and they supposedly did a really gory version of that, but never got shown, and it's lost apparently. Paul W. Sanderson has said, it doesn't know where it is, if that footage even exists anymore. It's lost. So anyway, Flash Gordon, 1980. See, this isn't a case of a film, needing a remake. It's Flash Gordon's a franchise, isn't it? It's an intellectual property. So it's not the film itself, it's the franchise that could do with a reboot, I suppose. But anyway, I love this film, Flash Gordon, 1980. It's its own thing. If they did a remake of it, it wouldn't be like that, would it? They wouldn't make it like that. It's an individual film that shouldn't be remade. Not like that, anyway. They shouldn't try and copy what this film looked like. But anyway, let's see what it says. They're probably going to repeat what I've just said here. Next up on the list is Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon was a superhero film. It technically wasn't a superhero, though, was it? He didn't have any powers. Released in 1980. It was based, Batman doesn't have powers, but he has gadgets. Flash Gordon didn't have any gadgets, did he? Just his own cunning and his strength and his strength of character. That's what he had. It was based on the Flash Gordon comic strips created by Alex Raymond. The film was distributed by Universal Pictures and starred Sam J. Jones, Melody Anderson. Oh, I've met both of them. Lovely people. And Amelia, do you mean Ornella? Ornella Muti, the gorgeous Ornella Muti, as Princess. I've forgotten the name. I did say Princess Ardella then, but that's off Buck Rogers, isn't it? Aura, Princess Aura. Yeah, astonishingly beautiful. Anyway, it follows the adventures of the character Flash Gordon. Did he have a proper name? Did we ever learn his name? Because obviously Flash isn't his name. Like Buck Rogers, Buck's his nickname, isn't it? Is William Buck Rogers. So did Flash Gordon have a name? I don't know. Shall we look it up? Shall we look it up? While we're here. We're live, I don't care. We're looking stuff up. Flash Gordon. Right. Look in Wikipedia, see what it says. Flash Gordon. Creation. Right, let's look at the character. It's not saying anything, is it? Let's keep looking. One source for Flash Gordon. That's something else. I don't know. It doesn't say. Nope. So maybe he didn't have a name. Maybe that is his name. Maybe he had hippie parents. But you'd think Flash would be his nickname. Um, I mean, in the film, he was a quarterback, wasn't he, for New York Jets, but I don't know if he was in the original comic strip, because I don't think I ever read the original comic strip. Seen the old Buster Crab ones, but does it actually say what he does in that? I don't know. Can't remember. It's that long as I've seen them. Used to love watching those. Used to show them as like on a Saturday morning or whatever on BBC. And I used to love them because we didn't get much science fiction when I was a kid. It was like Doctor Who, Star Trek, The Tomorrow People, that's it, Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers in black and white. Anyway, and by the way, if you look on YouTube, there's like colorized versions of them. I've not watched them. I've just seen them pop up in my lists, suggestions list. You know, and I haven't got around to watching them yet, but they've been colorized and look quite nice. Where were we? Right, it follows the adventures of the character Flash Gordon, who is a quarterback from Earth who becomes a superhero that saves the Earth from destruction. It had 14 hours to do it, didn't it? It was notable for its soundtrack being composed by the band Queen, cool album, one of the first albums I bought for myself when I was a kid, back in 1980. I got it on tape because I didn't have a record player then. I got a cassette player for Christmas. And I bought Flash Gordon by Queen and Queen Live Killers because I was into Queen. And I got my Queen t-shirt on. I've got Guns N' Roses, never mind. And it has gained a cult following over the years. A new remake could fix some of the dated special effects and reintroduce Flash Gordon to modern audiences. The series it was based on has been cited as inspiration for many other famous film series like Star Wars. Well, yeah, George Lucas wanted to make Flash Gordon, didn't he? But he couldn't get the rights. So he just made his own thing. But there's homages to it all over the place. Probably the most obvious one is in Phantom Menace, actually, where it shows Queen Amidala talking to the Viceroy of the Trade Federation on the screen. And the screen, it's like it goes, makes a weird noise, and she appears. And that's taken straight from Flash Gordon. And also the crawl, the opening crawl, that's straight from Flash Gordon. But different words, obviously. But yeah. But I don't mind if they do remake it, just remake it, but make it different, because don't try and go with this campiness that was the 1980 version, because that's its own thing. Do a remake, but make it new and different, a different interpretation of the same character. Right, so I kind of agree with them on that. Number 5, Masters of the Universe 1987. This could do with a proper remake because, although I did enjoy Masters of the Universe, it were okay. And that's all. But anyway, Masters of the Universe is a film adaptation of the animated series of the same name. By the way, I was never really into Masters of the Universe when I was a kid, the cartoon. And I tried watching it recently. I think it was on, it was either on Amazon or Netflix for a while. And started watching them. They're not good. I'm probably getting people angry, but I couldn't watch them. The best Master of the Universe thing I've seen is that is it like 10-hour video on YouTube of not He-Man, Prince Adam singing that song, that E-I-U-I-O song. That one. How cool is that? I should have had it as my backdrop, shouldn't I? Never mind. It was distributed by the Cannon Group and released in 1987. I think it was probably one of the films that destroyed the Cannon Group, wasn't it? Because they had a lot of big budget flops, didn't they? They had like Life Force and this and some others. The film follows the story of the heroes of Eternia who defend the realm from the evil mastermind Skeletor. This fight extends across the entire universe and eventually involves Earth, forcing Earthlings to team up with these legendary heroes and ultimately save the universe from destruction. That was the problem with the film. It went to Earth, which were kind of the worst bit of it, and obviously most of it. But never mind. When it was released, the film had a disappointing box office of only $17 million worldwide, making it a commercial failure. People still hold a lot of nostalgia for the movie, and it is still a cult classic to this day. A remake could revitalise interest in the series and improve the dated special effects. Or you could watch still Masters of the Universe stuff out there, isn't there? There's new. Well, there's the infamous Kevin Smith animated version, isn't there? That's on Netflix. There's also, I think there's also another one, isn't there? There's a CG one on, is that on Amazon? Or is that on Netflix as well? I don't know, but I've not seen that one. But yeah, redo it as a live action film, but don't have it on Earth, because all the bits that were on Eternia were fine, apart from that silly bloody Billy Barty character. That were awful. You know, get the little floaty fella in. Don't ask me his name, I don't know. Anyway, this fella is a famous actor, and I've seen him in something else, and I can't remember what. I looked him up recently. I saw his name pop up, and you know, I thought, oh, he played him in Master of the Universe. I can't remember what else I've seen him in now. Anyway, moving on. Logan's Run, 1976. This, you know, bit of trivia. This was the first VHS I ever had of my own, but I bought one. I had a tape that I used to record films on. But this was the first one I ever owned, the first film. I've still got it. It's somewhere over there. But it was a Christmas present off me mum. But yeah, Logan's Run, 1976. Classic film. It is, you know, it's a film of its time. It's actually a film before its time. It was made in 1976, but it looks like it was like made in the bloody 1960s. It looks like they've got very like Star Trek-y, original series Star Trek-y costumes going on. But anyway, next up is the sci-fi classic film Logan's Run. It was released in 1976 and distributed by United Artists. The film features a utopian society that shares a hopeful vision of the future, but that vision is short-lived when it is revealed that under the surface there is a dystopian society that kills anyone who reaches 30 years of age to stop population explosion and resources being consumed. I think the original script, it was like 21, actually, they were killed at 21. Or that might have been the book. It's based on a book. This film's plot follows a man known as Logan 5, who is responsible for terminating people who reach their age. No, he's not. He's a Sandman, which is like a police person. He's responsible for, well, basically law and order and stopping people called runners, people who don't want to go to Carousel. Carousel's where they get terminated. And they lie to the people, saying that they, you know, once they die, they are reborn. They go on Carousel and get killed and all flashy stuff. They float about and then blow up. And then the story is that they're reborn in the next generation, but obviously that never happens. But obviously some people don't believe that and have these crystals on the hand, and when they turn, I think it's turn red, I think they start flashing. That's when they know that their time is up, and some of them choose to run because there's a legend of sanctuary that they can get to, where they don't have to die, and it's the Sandmen. It's their responsibility to stop them, so that they shoot them. So, and they sometimes have a bit too much fun doing it. But anyway, he has finally become the targeted age himself, not from his own doing. I think he's 4 years left. I think, but he goes when he kills a runner, he gets the symbol like an ankh, the Egyptian symbol ankh. He gets that from one of the runners, which is to do with a symbol for the sanctuary legend, and the computers that control the city, they change his crystal so it turns red, and so they say he's going to run and find where sanctuary is and destroy it. But it all goes wrong, and anyway, it turns out there is no sanctuary in the film. Anyway, he's finally become the targeted age himself, and now must try to escape death. The film is an all-time classic with some trouble with its special effects. It actually won an Oscar for its special effects in 1976, unbelievably. You look at them, you think, they're not really special effects, they're just models. And they're not that special, to be honest, but, whatever. The Dome City, it just looks like a big train set, a big futuristic train set. That's basically what it is. But anyway, better special effects in the TV series, which lasted for 13 episodes. Better special effects in that. And I'm not kidding. It was not able to depict everything that it set out to achieve, but some good matte paintings, I'll give it that, of like a ruined Washington, D.C. and stuff like that. So that were good. Meaning a remake could finally achieve its original vision through modern technology. Yeah, yes, I would agree. Even though it's a cool film, there are bits in it. Box, for instance, voiced by is it Roscoe Lee Brown? I think a big silly robot, that comes fish and plankton and greens from the sea and all that. He's giving it all that. That could do to be redone. But check out the TV series as well. That was fun. I enjoyed the Logan's Run TV series because it added to the lore. And we also found out the TV series that there were older people in control in the Dome City. Well, there you go. Not just the computers. Right, They Live, 1988. We're getting there. This don't need remaking, to be honest. It's a fine standalone film that just does its job. It doesn't need remaking. Could do with a sequel. Anyway, They Live is another excellent example of a solid sci-fi premise whose special effects are practical but dated. Well, yeah, but special effects weren't the central core of it, to be honest. Although there were some that were well done. The ones that were in it were, pretty good. This film was released in 1988 and was distributed by Universal Pictures. It's a John Carpenter film, by the way. Famous for its fight between the star, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and I forgot his name. They were in The Thing as well. I can't remember his name, sorry. Like a 10-minute fight scene. Goes on and on. But it's fun. Anyway, the plot follows a drifter who comes to Los Angeles for work. And he doesn't have a name. His name's Nada, which in the credits, which means nothing, doesn't it? It's supposed to be the man with no name, isn't it? Through a series of events, he comes into possession of sunglasses that let him see the truth behind society. It is revealed that aliens have replaced human beings in key positions in society to spread subliminal messages that make humans easier to control, while the film uses simple techniques and doesn't overly rely on special effects, like I've just said. The alien designs and other special effects look a little goofy to modern audiences. I don't know, there isn't really that much in it, to be honest. There's billboards and stuff, but that's it. And there's a couple of shots of like a drone thing, but that's fine. But that's a bit apart from that. Somebody has a hand device that is just the PKE meter from Robocop. But anyway, the world could definitely use a touch-up with modern effects techniques in a remake. No, I disagree. I don't think it needs remaking, but a sequel would be nice to see what happened next. Because spoilers, Rowdy Roddy Piper dies in it. And The Fly, 1986. This doesn't need a remake. Not in the same way that this film was. Maybe they could do another version of The Fly, because this itself was a remake that was quite different to the original. But anyway, let's see. The Fly is a unique, underrated sci-fi film that would greatly benefit from a remake. No, just not a remake. Do another version of it. Fair enough. It was released in 1986 and was directed by David Cronenberg. The storytelling is top-notch. It is amazing. By the way, I did it recently. I did a double bill, The Fly and The Fly 2, on my Friday night appointment with Fear. Check it out. A few weeks ago. I can't remember exactly when. And the film has won an award for its makeup. Well, yeah, by Chris Wallace, who would go on to direct the sequel, The Fly 2, which is also really good, in my opinion. In some ways, the sequel has bits in it that's actually better than the David Cronenberg version. But I can't really say I like one more than the other. I like them both. There's like a two-part thing to me. Anyway, its premise follows a scientist's attempt to create a teleporter who accidentally mixes his DNA with a fly. This act slowly causes him to lose his humanity and become a monster. The film's visuals mostly hold up to this day. However, several scenes stick out like sore thumbs because of the techniques used. Oh, not really. Not really. Leave it alone. As I said, don't remake this film. Remake the concept, of The Fly. I think it was based on a book originally, wasn't it? I think. I could be wrong. But it was originally done in the 1950s, as I said, with Vincent Price and Al Hedison. But and that were creepy. You know, everybody remembers the fly with the man's head in the spider's web going, "Help me!" That bit, that was creepy, wasn't it? That gives me shivers now just thinking about that. But yeah, redo it, but don't remake this film. But remake, you know, The Fly. You know, have another interpretation of it, much like the other one that I mentioned. What was it now? Yeah, well, Logan's Run, maybe. I don't know. What was it? Flash Gordon. Yeah, that was it. Do another interpretation of Flash Gordon. Do another interpretation of The Fly. They don't remake that film. Number one, A Clockwork Orange. Another film I've never seen. You know why? Because it's, I don't know, maybe because of this scene. I've got a thing about eyes, and it freaks me out, and it makes me cringe just looking at that. I'm going to go past. Last on the list is the sci-fi dystopian film A Clockwork Orange. This film was released in 1971 and directed by Stanley Kubrick, and he'd never have it released in the UK, but it was originally, eventually, I mean. Anyway, its plot centres on an antisocial delinquent who becomes rehabilitated to abhor violence only to get abused himself due to his now meek nature. It is a masterpiece of science fiction that uses violent imagery to make its statement to the point that the United Kingdom version, I suppose, was pulled from theatres because of a spike in violence and banned in several countries. I don't think that's quite true. I'm not sure. It was Stanley Kubrick himself that pulled it from the UK release. But I don't know if it was because of a spike in violence. Maybe because, I don't know. Anyway, a remake could improve some of the dated visual effects that stick out during a modern viewing. Well, I wouldn't know because I've never actually seen it, because I've seen this. I've seen clips on telly. But I've never actually sat down to watch it because it doesn't appeal to me. Maybe I should change that and give it a watch, but stuff to do with eyes freak me out. Especially having drops put in. Because I've got dodgy eyes, so I often have drops in my eyes when I go for tests and stuff. And I've got sensitive eyes. Anyway, that's it. That was number one, wasn't it? So there we go. So I agree with some of them. I disagree with most of them. Most of them on that list. Yes, some could do with a reinterpretation of the stories, but most of them, just leave them as they are and enjoy them. Don't need remaking, just watch the originals. You know, that's fine. Right, we'll leave it there. We will leave it there. I said it'd be a short one. We've gone on for an hour. Well, I have anyway. Right, so we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll say thee.